welcome to episode 184 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar. He's back and feeling better. Welcome back, and Happy New Year to you, Warren.
Thanks. Yeah, COVID round 2. It was I recommend this strain over the last one. So it gets 2 stars compared to the 1 star of the last one. I'm good. I'm trying to. I feel a little bit like some people we know with their audio setup here, so I got to figure that out. Yeah, but I got some toys for Christmas. I got a piano, and I got COVID, and I got all that stuff over Christmas. So it's fun. Yeah.
Good. Back. And then we'll also welcome back to the show. Always love having her, Kelly Guimont. How you doing, Kelly? Happy New Year.
Yeah, nice to have you. Nice to be here, and Happy New Year to you too as well.
Well, glad you're here, and first show of 2022. So we're here to talk about all kinds of stuff. There's always something in the Apple world that must be going on, but we're going to hear and just jump right in and talk about the news and a couple surprises here, and got some CES stuff, and we might even touch upon some of the things we might think might be announced later this year by Apple. We don't know, but we'll see where that goes. But first story, rest in peace, Blackberry. Blackberry is at the end of the line this week. They shut it down for good. This was on January 4th. Ars Technica, Blackberry, the company that once dominated the smart mobile device market, has recently announced that it's finally discontinuing key services that support its phones as of January 4th. So it's past. It's over. The phones will no longer be providing with provisioning services, meaning that they will gradually lose their ability to join networks, including the cellular network. I mean, it just seemed like yesterday I had a Blackberry, and I'm sure I'm going under the assumption that the two of you have had one at one time as well. And it's kind of sad. I remember I was very excited when I got my first Blackberry before the iPhone came out, and that was a long time ago. But I put another link an article in the show notes here too from Macworld that they talk about how iPhone killed the BlackBerry, and then but it didn't have to happen. So there was a good, interesting topic on that. What do you think, Kelly? It's kind of sad, but it's also not surprising.
The end of an era, kind of. It's sort of like finding out when this broke. What I remember about what it struck me as similar to was when AOL Instant Messenger finally gave up the ghost, because it was sort of 2 things at once. Like, first, oh, is that still a thing? I didn't realize that was still a thing, and now it's no longer officially a thing. So that was it. The thing that it did remind me of is people were talking about the unrivaled dominance of BlackBerry as the first sort of smartphone that you could get. Is I remember people describing the iPhone as it's like a BlackBerry, but Apple makes it. And I remember hearing that from more than one person, like independently of people, like just in the people that I talked to and stuff. You know, did you hear Apple's making a thing like a BlackBerry? Like, that seems weird, and so just sort of remembering what the smartphone market was like at that point, and remembering how mediocre the reception was amongst smartphone fans who weren't Apple fans when the iPhone was announced and all of that. And like, why would I do that if I can have a BlackBerry with an actual keyboard, and all that kind of stuff. So just sort of thinking back to what that stuff, like what the landscape was like at the time, and then looking at it now and seeing how fast all of that changed, because it really was fast when it all went down. So yeah. It was just kind of interesting.
Definitely. And it's 15 years actually to the day tomorrow that iPhone was first announced by Steve Jobs at Macworld in San Francisco. How ironic that just right around that time with that BlackBerry would suffer such a fate. And they have a picture of Steve Jobs looking at the phones that were out there at the time, including the Moto Q and the BlackBerry, the Palm Trio, the Nokia E62. Those were the hot phones back then. Did you have one, Warren? Did you have BlackBerry?
Oh, not only that, I was responsible for deploying the Bez server to my company, which was about 5,000 people.
So you have lots of experience with BlackBerry.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of good it does you now.
So, I mean, it was a really weird time. So we were moving from like kind of like the pagers to BlackBerry was the transition. Some people threw in a sidekick, like the sidekick in there in between, and a few of the.
I remember that.
It had a different name. It had something else in there too. But yeah, we did the BlackBerry server, and I just remember the biggest issue, not issue. Well, it was the culture changed with the companies because these people, half of them were like, I'm not carrying my email with me everywhere I'm going. I mean, this is, I'm not doing it. I'm not working wherever I am.
Right.
And then the other half was like, yeah, this is great. And then of course the CIO of the company was like totally obsessed with it. It was so obsessed that he made my coworker, we had T-Mobile Blackberries at the time. He made my coworker drive around New Jersey to test reception in all locations because with the BlackBerry at the time, it was the first time in really history where bad data meant you weren't getting your emails, right? So people weren't getting their emails and they would call up and they would call the help desk. I'm not getting emails. And 90% of the time it was just, service issues with T-Mobile. My big BlackBerry faux pas was when the company was sort of transitioning. It was a little later. I can't remember the date, probably around the 2010 or 12. BlackBerry came out with their tablet, right?
The biggest flop ever.
Oh, yeah.
And
Is that the playbook?
The playbook.
Playbook. Was it the playbook?
Why do I know that?
I'm not sure. I don't. It's something like that. But yeah, it's anyways, I convinced my my friend and neighbor to get one over a iPad. And at the time there was, I think because he still had a BlackBerry, I'm like, this will be, something that you would use. I still hang my head in shame.
Yeah. But like every other company that failed to adopt when iPhone just became just the love we love today, you wonder why a lot of why then parent company Research in Motion paid little mind to it. Just kind of like what Microsoft did, if I recall.
Yeah.
when Steve Ballmer said, well, we don't care about mobile.
Yeah.
15 years since, man.
Yeah. iPhone, the first iPhone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I was there. That feels so much longer ago and so much not longer ago at the same time. But wow, 15 years. Because I got up at like 3 a.m. to go make sure that I was in line to get into the steep note. So I was in the room, not in the overflow room with a big screen, but in the room itself when that got announced. I got very lucky in that moment.
Very lucky. Yeah.
And
you probably be able to say
years.
You got to watch that whole witness that history made right there.
And I was texting my tech support department from the company I worked for. I was texting them what was happening as it happened because I didn't have a BlackBerry. So I was texting them from my little Motorola candy bar phone, like the Rocker 2. I think it was not the first one that had iTunes on it that was terrible, but like the next one that was a little slimmer and cool. And so I was texting them and I was like, you guys, Apple's making a phone. And they were like, no, yes, Apple's making a phone. And like, I just remember it being really weird in that room to be there. And just because you could feel that like this was going to be huge, even if it didn't end up being the dominant thing. And I don't think even if you asked the most confident person in that room about the iPhone, did you think it was going to be what it is now? I don't think any person in that room would have even imagined that this is where we would end up. But it was definitely a very interesting place to be. And because you could tell like this is going to be a big deal regardless of how popular it is or anything. It's like forcing the whole smartphone conversation forward in a direction, that's not just BlackBerry. And I think that was probably part of where that all started initially. So yeah. Wow. 15 years.
Yeah. And BlackBerry as a company still exists in Canada, but has absolutely nothing to do with anything with mobile devices. So, seems to sound like what IBM did to become a services company versus, well, at least IBM is still successful. But yep, RIP. Then what happened earlier this week is Apple became, just for a brief moment, a $3 trillion, that's with a T, $1 trillion company. This is linked at CNBC. This was earlier this week. The market cap hit at over $3 trillion, and briefly during training this past Monday as we record, it was just pretty amazing to see that. Who would have thought that Apple would be at a $3 trillion value? It just blows my mind how far we've come with Apple over all these years. That it is. I mean, it's under $3 trillion now, but that's only like 2.94 or whatever.
But you can see it from here.
Yeah,
I mean,
the market's like a yo-yo.
There was a news story about like how it went down a little bit today, but it like went down as much as like a lot of companies are worth.
Yeah,
I mean, it went down like a lot. But in comparison,
Apple dropped a Taco Bell in value today.
Pretty much, yeah. They dropped the whole company down.
Apple is doomed. We're dropping.
Yep.
No, but
had a good run.
It's pretty amazing, and I will talk future here just a bit. But I'm just. It's so fun to cover Apple and to see its success and the products that we all love. So, and then this was interesting. A class action lawsuit that alleges that Google is paying Apple to stay out of the search engine market. This is in Apple Insider, and a class action antitrust case has been filed that claims that Apple and Google have violated U.S. antitrust laws in how they deal with each other, up to and including the payments that Google's search engine as default on Apple products. If I recall, we did say that Google does pay something like, I don't know if it's $1 billion, but it was a lot.
It is a non-zero amount of money. It is a many zeros amount of money. Yes. Like those payments exist, but for it to be for this was
to keep the default.
Honestly, that was my same reaction when I heard it in the first place, was just to laugh at it. Like that mostly it will be fun if they manage to make it to actual trial, because discovery will make for some fun reading. That's really all it comes down to. Yeah. It's going to be like a forced look inside a company, and neither one of them want that.
No, so it's just lining the pockets of all these lawyers that
so it'll be fun.
That can file this and okay, so they don't want them to be in the search engine business. Big deal. I mean, Google's domination in search engine in search is going to continue. I mean, there's other companies that are doing it. I mean, Microsoft hasn't come anywhere close with Bing and others, but Apple probably, if anything, wants to stay out of it because they have enough. Their services business is doing mighty fine. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Wasn't it a crane company or trucking company that did this lawsuit or something silly? That's what I read. It was the lawsuit was brought on by like literally a crane company.
No,
that one's
I didn't see that, but anything's possible. But again, if our friend Chuck Joyner would be here, he'd just be shaking his head on more lawsuits, with Apple.
Yep.
So, anyway, well, let's go ahead and move on here. Verizon and T-Mobile. There was an iPad. They discontinued the iPad rebate program following widespread customer complaints. This is in Mac Rumors. This week, Verizon and T-Mobile had discontinued their iPad rebate program in partnership with Apple, following widespread customer complaints that the program was ineffective, flawed, and rarely worked as intended. In recent weeks, complaints from customers have emerged across social media regarding Verizon and T-Mobile's rebate programs. If it worked according to plan, the program would have given customers up to a $200 rebate when purchasing a cellular iPad and activated through Verizon or or T-Mobile. Unfortunately, customers had to face subpar experience with the program, often reporting denied for the rebate for unclear reasons. Shenanigans, yes. I think This is I've never been a huge fan. I know, Warren, you've had some success with these rebates, especially with T-Mobile. I think you almost got your iPhone for free, but
with the phone, with the phone. But the tablet and the watch things that they do, the iPad and the watch, that's the biggest thing. That's badness, because they literally just say you're going to get like a free tablet or a free iPad or whatever, and you got to pay for the service. In fact, I was just at a winter festival in Philadelphia, and I had a T-Mobile stand, and like you spin a wheel, you can win something.
The wheel of meat.
I landed on free I landed on free tablet, and I'm like, oh, cool, free tablet. It's like, you just got to, get the tablet, and you got to do the service. I'm like, okay.
It was probably an Android tablet too.
You only have to sign up for 4 years of service, and you get a Galaxy Note.
Yeah, I think it was an iPad, to be fair, but a lot of them will give away the cheaper iPads with the cellular if you do the service. That's
the 9th gen or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So beware. You don't have to worry. I tend to avoid. I've always been very happy buying my stuff directly from Apple. So I kind of avoid it. This next story, I know you, Kelly, were having fun with Charlotte this early this week on TDO. Lumos, Siri understands Harry Potter spells. This is actually from her article on Mac Observer.
Yes.
Hey, S-Lady, Lumos will turn on the iPhone flashlight. I tried it. I was like, holy cow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So if you say...
Something turns it off, too.
If you say,
hey, Knox.
Hey, S-Lady, Lumos, it's going to turn the flashlight on. And to turn it off... As all Harry Potter aficionados know, the command is Knox. That is like this coolest thing they ever did. I guess equivalent commands do also work on Android phones, but to have to say "Hey G," But this is kind of fun. I think Apple actually outdid themselves to have a little fun with Siri. With the traditional stuff like open the pod bay doors and beam me up and all the other crazy stuff. And my favorite, of course, the zero. What's different? 0 divided by 0, and and the Cookie Monster line. But I know you guys were having fun with this, Kelly.
We did. Well, and part of it was because it came about after Charlotte texted me. In the evening, my time, like she had gotten up and like in all caps had texted me, "Did you know about this?" And I went, "Is this going around like on social media or something?" And she goes, "Okay, she's like, you didn't answer me. Did you know about this?" I'm like, "Yes, I knew, but you're like the third person to tell me about it. That's why I wondered if it was going around somewhere." And like you said, David, the thing that I enjoy about it is the moments of personality. Every once in a while somebody tries something with the S-Lady and gets some fun result. Like it used to be, if you asked her about Westworld, she would say that doesn't look like anything to me. And you could ask her about movie plots, which was also a fun one, when she would tell you that like 2001 was a movie about a lovely computer assistant that was mercilessly killed by a bunch of humans, and stuff like that. And like the first, what's the Matrix about? And she would say it's about a red pill and blue pill and black leather and guns and black leather and lots of guns and free will and black leather and guns, And I'm like, you are not wrong, artificial intelligence. So like any of these things that sort of give you a chance to have fun with your assistant. And it like, the other piece of it is that it helps draw people in a little bit when you give them something fun to do and it's not sort of work and you can tell it's going to actually do the thing it says and things like that. Those are always kind of fun. They always sort of remind me of the story about how the first, when no computers had mice and they were trying to get people to interact with mice, they had this little game. So you would hold the mouse to move the fly swatter around the screen to swat the fly. And that was how you taught people to use this interaction paradigm that nobody had ever seen before. And so that's like these sorts of things. That's what they remind me of is making it easier for people to use Siri and do and talk to it for other stuff too and make it easier to use for everybody. So yeah. Also nerds. So
nerds. Yeah. And how do you Harry Potter's 20 years ago now?
The first film 20 years ago. Yeah.
Jesus, we're all getting old.
Never saw any of them. And those words make no sense to me. So,
all right, then we won't have much other comment from you about this.
I tried it out. I didn't know what I was saying, but I tried it out.
Yeah. So the next story here, this is in The Verge. Apple's HomeKit bug can send iOS devices into a death spiral. Oh, no.
Yeah, this is super fun.
Signing into iCloud will re-trigger the crash even after a full restore. That's even more special. You always have to be wary of invites to a stranger's house. The upside of this piece was security research found a vulnerability capable of locking iOS devices in a spiral of freezing, crashing, and rebooting if the user connects to a sabotaged Apple home device. The vulnerability was discovered by a security researcher and can be exploited through its HomeKit API, and the software interface allows iOS app to control compatible smart home devices, and the attacker can create HomeKit devices with extremely long names, 500,000 characters. Well, that'll make it more fun. So obviously they found this bug and they're doing it, and we'll talk about this here just a sec about in beta here, but let's hope this is squashed, as it is going to be. But be aware of that. Don't use your HomeKit to be rogue with that. So and see where it goes. Another bug here. This is in Mac World. Excuse me. A bug preventing messages send read receipts from being turned off. It's a bug in iOS and iPadOS, appears persistent, including showing other people your attentiveness. Some people find read receipts fiendish in nature. I think I turn it off, but apparently I can't. If I have this bug, others think that they're invaluable. So some people like it, some people don't. But it's rare to find an opinion in the middle. But with read receipts enabled, a recipient of the message sees the text underneath, says read, and let you know. But apparently there's a bug, and while you're allowed to actually turn it off. And for now, there is no particular resolution. Some people have found restarting their iPhone and iPad provided relief, at least temporarily. So let's hope the next version of iOS will fix this. I don't know if either of you have experienced this. I don't, like I said, I turned mine off. So
I turned it off, so I haven't noticed. Yeah.
So be aware. That's what we're here for. Is a PSA there. And last story I had here. This is a new app. It's called Visible. There's a new trial. This is in CNET, on CNET. You can sample Verizon's network for free on an unlocked iPhone. Right now, it's only for the iPhone for now. If you want to try out Verizon's network, but aren't necessarily ready to switch to the carrier, if you have a recent iPhone, there's a new way to do it now. Visible, which is one of Verizon's prepaid brands, announced on Thursday this week, as we record, offering a 15-day free trial of its network, similar to T-Mobile's updated test drive program from last year. Visible's trial takes advantage of the eSIM, of course, which we know is a virtual SIM card is a wave of the future. Can live alongside your current cell phone provider if you have a physical SIM. And once you set it up, it'll allow you to compare Visible's network and by extension Verizon's to your current provider and see what you want to try it out. So pretty cool. And then this is really something you're going to see with eSIM. I mean, and we I didn't really have a topic, but I think we could talk about that in the 2022 future, potential possibilities of eSIM becoming eSIM only and not have a physical SIM. So stay tuned. We'll talk about that. So that's the news for this week. Let's move on to the topics. But before we move on to the topics, I just wanted to announce something here on the show. I decided we would like to see if anybody would be interested in supporting us a little bit anyway, and buying us a coffee. We're gonna have a link in the show notes, and I'll mention it again at the end of the show. But if you go to buymeacoffee.com/intouchwithios and buy us a coffee, so support the show. We'd love to have you. It would help out with the show in itself and offset some costs. But if you like the show and you enjoy it, please visit that website, buymeacoffee.com/intouchwithios. I would appreciate it.
I need some cables.
You need some cables? Okay, yeah. I'm going to buy you some cables.
We're fundraising for Warren's new webcam, so she's actually in focus for the whole show.
Yeah, that's right, because
It actually has been. Don't move. Nobody move.
Yeah, don't move. So, and we'll have other announcements in the future as well. But to support us, we'd really appreciate it. But moving on, the beta this week, the beta's been kind of quiet. 15.3, the beta 1 is still ongoing. And one thing as we just talked about in that story is the fact that that HomeKit bug should fix the HomeKit vulnerability. But other than that, Warren, you've been running it for a while, and I'm venturing to say there really isn't much to it. There hasn't been anything I can see as of late that's been reported.
No, it's been holiday weeks, and they give developers off, I guess, some time off, and it's been quiet.
Yeah.
And they knew I was in no shape to test it, so
that's right.
pretty much full. Yeah. So yeah, I guess what's Thursday? Probably next week.
I would think so. Yep, nothing else really to say much about beta this week, but this week, actually, the CES, or the Consumer Electronics Show, as it used to also be known, 2022 was this week as we record. And I can tell you there's been lots of discussion of no one going, because I didn't go, and usually I had gone in 2020. And
you don't go.
Wanted to go, and I think a lot of our friends also chose not to go, as we've been having quite a discussion among our CES squad, that including Dave Hamilton and others that opted not to go. But they did have the other events, and they did have PepCom, which is one of the PEPs events that are out there, and it was kind of sad. You start seeing the videos, and there's not too many people in the room.
Not so peppy.
It wasn't so peppy. And Showstoppers, I guess, was this week, but we'll be seeing a virtual event next week. But then CES in itself has been going on, and we're getting a lot of good press. I've got a lot of press releases, and I wanted to just kind of highlight a couple of things that were announced during CES. One of them was really interesting, is the fact that Intel teased a technology to improve iPhone and Apple Watch integration with PCs. Now, really, I won't be talking too much about PCs, but I found this to be kind of interesting. This was in 9to5Mac. They announced their next generation of premium Evo brand for company-certified computers. In addition to adding support for foldable devices and Wi-Fi 6E standard, the new Evo PCs will also offer iPhone and Apple Watch integration with iMessage support for the very first time. So Intel, I guess, acquired a company called Screenovate, a platform known for providing solutions to manage and control iOS and Android devices. But it sure seems like a lot of these companies are getting bought up. This is the platform already uses the Dell's Mobile Connect tool, and now it's going to be available on these Intel Evo certified computers. During a presentation, they actually demonstrated the iPhone users access the text messages, even on Windows. So maybe they won't be green bubbles anymore. So, Warren, you and I both, all of us, all three of us actually. What do you think this is going to do for iPhone and Apple Watch support for our PC friends?
Actually, also Google announced something similar today, right? They're working on some kind of AirPlay thing and a handoff thing that's kind of doing so. I mean, I thought iMessage, I didn't think it was even possible, just the way the encryption works. There was some hacked workarounds in the past where you could have a Mac running, and it was able to kind of be the middleman to give you the iMessages. But yeah, I mean, iMessage and FaceTime are Apple's candy to entice users to Apple, and they've kept it pretty tight to Apple. So I don't know I don't know how all this is going to go, but I know they're trying to get more. There's been talks of a unified messaging system, and not iMessage in particular, but a unified messaging system. So, I mean, if it works, and of course, everybody's going to pick it apart and saying it's not safe or encrypted or blah blah blah, and we'll see how it goes.
What do you think, Kelly?
Well, I'm curious about it for a bunch of reasons, but if it was if it was something that Intel could have implemented this easily, then if they had done it sooner, maybe they would still be making processors for laptops.
This
for the fruit company.
For the fruit company.
Who can say?
Who could say?
Like I, as much as I prefer iMessage and the experience and all that, like I would much prefer to have something everyone can use. You know, like as much as I prefer messages, like SMS will usually get the edge just because I know that works. I know whoever you are, you can get that message. Maybe it's a green bubble. Maybe it's, you know, maybe you have no concept of bubbles because you have an Android device or a Windows phone or whatever. And I know that it will work for you with SMS. And so like SMS is as close to like unified messaging as we really have right now. And so sometimes that wins. And I honestly sort of hope that this ends up aggravating Cupertino and they end up doing something better on their own and implement something themselves. And this is the kind of thing that is sort of a swipe at Apple that kind of forces them to compete. And those are the things I like to watch is, you know, like when a new version of Windows comes out and it's really good, like Windows 7 or Windows 10, and like it's got a lot of good features and it's not swallowing its own tongue every 20 minutes, like the Windows that we all remember. And when it's reliable and it's functional and it's easy to use, it's relatively responsive and people can get with it, and it didn't come from Apple, I like watching what Apple does next because now they have to compete because they're known for all of those things too. And so making Apple have to do something about this is actually the part I'm the most pleased about, because now maybe it will be easier. Maybe there will become maybe there will be an iMessage for Windows app, or you can install something from Apple that gives you iMessage on an Android device or something, you know, and I want to see what they do next. So I'm
absolutely,
whether or not I actually use this particular utility or not, I'm glad it exists because I want to see what Apple has to do about it.
Yeah.
And that's why apps like WhatsApp is so big, because it's universal. And, you know, Apple would love people not to use WhatsApp. And I would love people not to use WhatsApp because I hate WhatsApp.
But I also don't have to know what phone you have. I just have to know you have WhatsApp, and it doesn't matter what hardware you have. I know how to reach you. You know, same sort of thing.
As you know, like some countries, that's their backbone. Like so that's how they talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that was one interesting thing that was announced. We're just talking a few things here. There's so much more, but a couple that were more caught my eye here. Belkin, which is the big accessory maker, and a lot of partnerships with Apple. They debuted a new Find My compatible sound form noise canceling earbuds. They announced this week high-end sound forming earbuds, which offer hybrid active noise cancellation and integration with Apple's Find My app. According to Belkin, the sound form immerse noise canceling earbuds are the company's top-of-the-line audio solution. In addition to active noise cancellation, the earbuds feature a multi-point connection to connect to and switch between multiple devices. And they are equipped with 12mm dual-layer dynamic drivers, and there's three microphones in each earbud. So wow, that's pretty impressive right there. And they got the interchangeable buds, and that makes it a good thing too. And they said that these are going to launch in the second quarter of 2022. I don't see the pricing on this as of yet, but I can imagine these are probably priced. I would price them right around the near to what the AirPods Pro are, but what these are maybe a little slightly higher. But and they are IPX5 water resistant, and they can hold up to light splashes of water and sweat. And sounds can be customized with their Soundform app. So, of course, they have to have an app to customize. What do you think, Kelly? This is. I mean, it looks like earbuds are the thing. A lot of manufacturers. So.
Yeah, a lot of places are making them. My stance, though, is that this isn't the most interesting thing that Belkin rolled out at CES, because they also made some Wemo announcements about how they're going to support Thread. Or support Matter, and that to me that's pretty interesting. And they also, I think it was Wemo came out with an alarm system. Am I remembering right?
I think so.
we've talked about so much CES stuff at Mac Observer this week, and I can't remember. But they there's going to be some updates to Wemo devices so that the Wemo stuff works with Thread, which is going to be works with Matter. I mean, I don't know why I keep interchanging them, but it's going to be
Doesn't matter.
It's a better network. It's a faster network. Everything's nicer. It's going to be, I'm just going to ignore Warren. I see what he did there, and I'm choosing to ignore it. And like that's the piece that I think is interesting, because one of the great things about Wemo is that it is smart home stuff for people who aren't necessarily smart home people. Like if you know, your family member who is not necessarily a super technical person and doesn't think that troubleshooting network problems is their idea of a good time, that person can install a Wemo thing and be able to turn the light on and off when they need to or whatever. And that's super awesome. And so like the thing that I recommend to people who are like, Kelly, you have all the smart home things in your house, which I kind of do. Like if I want one, what should it be? Like if I want to get started, and the thing I tell everyone is Wemo for that reason, because you don't have to have another hub that you hang off your network, you know, another little plastic box that sits in a closet somewhere, taking up an Ethernet port, and you don't have to do anything, because now that they're HomeKit compatible, you plug it in, you take a picture of it with your phone, and then you can boss it around. That's all you have to do. So it's one of the really easy ways to get started, or to, you know, solve a small problem. Like every time I drive into the driveway and my phone knows that I'm home, the light comes on. And now when I come in the door, I don't have to come in the door to the dark, you know, and that's great. Yeah. And so having an option like that you can offer people is really good. And the fact that they're just making the network more redundant, more reliable, and all of that stuff happens invisibly to end users is fantastic. So I'm really glad to see that's coming out from Belkin. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people trying to up the earbud game, and I'm not sure at this point, like how that's going to go. It just sort of seems like everybody makes their own earbuds now. Yeah. And I've tried some of them, and so far I haven't been super duper impressed with most of them. So like I want to be, but so far it hasn't happened. So.
And then the other earbud I was going to mention too is Jabra. Jabra does make some pretty decent stuff.
They make some good stuff. Yeah.
And this is their new Elite 7, which was a digital trends editor's choice. It's got the audio engineering, advanced engineering, the multi-sensor voice for call performance, and they're really tiny. They fit really.
They look so small
right into your ears, and. It works great with music, with calls. It's at the very latest Bluetooth 5.2, and iOS and Android compatible. And they show us a breakdown of what's inside their earbuds, and they look pretty solid. And I've always been pretty impressed with some of the things that Jabra makes, because that's one of their biggest business, active noise cancellation. So neat little buds there, and I'd like to definitely take a listen to see what they sound like. But they're priced out. They're available today, and you can they start from $199.99. So
they
it's
do
up
look
there.
really small.
But they do look really small.
I've tried a lot that. You know, they talk about all of the stuff that they pack into the earbuds, and then I stick them in my ears, and they fall out because they're heavy and they don't work like they should. And anything that will fit reasonably comfortably, and I can wear if it's raining, and is going to do a decent job. Like I don't expect an earth-shattering experience from wireless headphones. I don't. Yeah. I would like if it was good. I just need it to be better than my iPhone on speaker, right? Like that's really all I'm ever looking for. And maybe I've just used a whole lot of terrible headphones in my life, and I don't know to expect any better than that. But if anyone has a pair that they want to send me that are awesome to change my mind about the true wireless earbud experience, I'm literally all ears. But for now, like for the most part, I'm really just looking for something mostly that's comfortable, and noise cancellation is a bonus. And as long as I can take it, sound decent on a phone call and not like I'm at the bottom of a well, then, for the most part, I'm good with that. So I'm hopeful that enough people will make them that they'll get awesome, and then maybe my expectation of that can change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I real fast.
No, go ahead.
I use my AirPods Pro all the time. I've tried a whole bunch. I never switch them out. The only thing that makes me the only thing I do switch out here and there are I have a pair of Aftershocks, which are the bone conducting ones.
Yeah, but
and I will throw them on here and there, especially if like working, and if it's uncomfortable for other people to see earbuds in your ear, it's good to have these because they don't think you're ignoring them with these because your ears are not covered.
Yeah. My husband has a pair that he wears hiking because then he can hear outside, but can also listen to an audiobook or listen to some music or something. Yeah. And really likes them for outside for that same purpose.
Yeah, it's good for if you really need to pay attention to the outside and you really want people not to think that you're ignoring them, to be honest with you. So yeah. And they're not bad and they sound decent.
Absolutely. And then one other item that caught my eye this week, and again, we'll cover it the next couple of weeks here. There's so much stuff. I thought just a couple items would be fine. Otherwise, we make this an entire CES show here. So, but Belkin also came out with this new stand for an iPhone. It's a magnetic phone mount with face tracking. You can snap your iPhone 13 or iPhone 12 onto this magnetic phone mount, and it has face recognition tracking that rotates and adjusts to shoot content from any angle. The accompanying app that follows your movements while you record and links directly to your social media channels. So it's kind of a neat little thing here, and I believe it also charges, if I'm not mistaken, and. It's not a bad little device. It's only $69.99. It is available now. Check that out. The Belkin has been making some really cool stands that you can charge all your wireless devices, include the Trio, where you can do both your iPhone, your AirPods, an AirPods Pro, and your Apple Watch all on one pad, as well as stands. So cool stuff. I think Belkin does make some pretty cool things.
They do. Yeah.
So. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk a little about, since it's the brand new year, 2022, why not talk a little bit about a lot of the speculation of what's going to happen in 2022 with Apple. Mark Gurman, of course, the renowned rumor maker, does the newsletter on Bloomberg.com. He does have a lot of good things that he talks about a lot of times. So they've been talking, of course, a lot of Mac stuff. Hopefully they come out with a new external monitor, which will be exciting. I'd like to see that. Phones and watches. I think we'll definitely see a 5G version of the iPhone SE. I think the SE is well overdue for an upgrade for that for this first half of the year. Of course, I'm sure we'll see an iPhone 14 at some point, and they're talking about things like a hole punch sized notch instead of the full notch that we have. Any of this stuff that's caught your eye, Kelly, at all? That the speculation of what's going to happen, that they think is going to happen.
Well, not yet, because some of it is no great leap of logic, right? Like, we're going to get another phone. Ooh, that's not really revolutionary. You know, there's going to be another watch. The display is the one that I think is the most interesting, because Apple doesn't really seem to be interested in displays, which sounds weird, but like they're interested in making a display for like a teeny weeny sliver of the market. And they do, and from the people that I know who use that level of monitor at their jobs or whatever, like those folks have said, like, yeah, this monitor is no joke. Like it does stand up to the other stuff that we were using at work. It does, it does compete on that level. Right. And the question is whether or not a consumer electronics company is going to do the same thing with another screen. And the thing that's really interesting about this to me is that Apple has been in the consumer electronics display business for 15 years tomorrow, as you pointed out at the beginning of the show. The iMac, the iPhone, it's not like Apple stopped making displays when they stopped selling you a screen you could hook to your computer, right? They just sold you computers with the screens built in. So, they never stopped selling a laptop. They never stopped, the iPhone, the iPad,
They
the
get the
iPad
screens
mini,
from other places.
the
They don't
watches.
Right.
They don't
had
make
been.
the screens. They source them from Samsung and other places.
Right. Well, I mean, they weren't making their own. In a lot of those cases, they weren't making their own in the first place. They were designed to someone else's specs, just like the processors and other stuff. So it's just interesting to me that, Apple has this stance of like, we got out of the consumer display business as there are 1 billion of their displays in people's pockets around the world. So it's kind of funny to me that that's where they've ended up. Like, I don't know, the stuff that's usually interesting to me is the stuff that isn't necessarily interesting to other people. So like, I want to see the watch get more independent. That would be a really nice thing to happen this year. If they could give me a hardware implementation. Like, we've taken baby steps. Like, first it got cellular service, and now we have the family setup. And I would really like if it could be its own more independent device in some way. As someone who got a Series 7 watch for Christmas and failed completely at the unpair repair thing and like lost all my stuff and had to start over again.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was super mad. It made me say a bunch of words that I'm not going to say now because I don't want you to have to edit, but I know them. And it it was a really frustrating experience, and I want that to be easier. And I also want for my family members who are Android users to be able to have a good watch experience, and everything I've done a ton of research on the Android side to try and find something that would be good for them and not been able to find it. So for Apple to do more to get sort of back to where they used to be back in the day of, we understand we're not the only game in town, and we know we have to play nice with Windows. We know we have to play nice with Microsoft Office files. We know all the way all of these things work. Like, we know people are going to use other stuff too, and we need to be able to integrate with all of that. And so I would really like if Apple spent this year doing more to integrate with other places, more to be a good member of those other sort of outside communities, and then also give us things like an Apple Watch with more independence, and be able to make that something that's viable for other people to use. And I would almost like an SE version of the Apple Watch SE, which is basically, basically Apple's Fitbit. Like, I would like them to make one that's a little bit smaller, a little bit less expensive. Maybe you only get like 2 watch faces with it, and and it's got family setup, and maybe it does cellular, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you have to have a phone, but maybe that phone could be an Android phone, and it'll track your steps and your heart rate, and sync it all to the app of your choice, or whatever. And get people another way to reel people into the Apple ecosystem. So like, if I were going to pick something, that would be what I would pick. But I don't find anything particularly compelling about Apple's going to have another phone, and Apple's going to have another watch, or another tiny phone that fits in people's pockets, which is, somehow revolutionary, which is really funny, because to go back to the original iPhone announcement, I remember people's reactions being, who would carry around a phone that big?
It wasn't that big though.
Well, relative compared to the little bitty flippy-doo that most people had in their pockets at the time, because it was that or a Blackberry, and it was even bigger than a Blackberry. And like, who's going to carry around a phone that's bigger than a Blackberry? I mean, come on. So, that kind of stuff
carrying
is
these big ones now. So
I know, because they just continue to expand. I'm like, why do you want something bigger if it's one-handed? You can't reach anything with your thumb. And I'm still Team 5S. I think that's the best one they made, and I like that one because I can hit all of it with my thumb when I hold it in one hand. It was the best one. So I want to see Apple do something more interesting than that, and give us something else that would be more fun.
Yeah, it was interesting to see if anything of a new product. Like I said, the show last year's show, the AirTag was basically the only new product that really Apple introduced last year. Is there going to be something new? I mean, AR is probably going to be the AR glasses is going to be something of a thing. I mean, there's a lot of rumor about that.
If that's this year.
If that's this year, it could be next year. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. iPad, I think the new iPad Pro could come with wireless charging. I don't think I'd complain too much. It'll be interesting to see how they would implement something like that, especially, a 12.9-inch iPad Pro is going to be doing wireless charging. How would you be laying that on top of a wireless charger?
The same way you'll do it with the M2 MacBook, which is set it on the little mat that it comes with so that you can wirelessly charge it that way. Like, honestly, that's the thing I really want to see is the next M series processor. Like, given the jump between the M1 and then the M1 Pro, even before you get to the Max, between the M1 and the M1 Pro, like, what are we going to get between the M1 Pro and the next thing?
Right.
That's going to be,
or if it's an M2 for that matter. Do we do it now with the M1 or wait to the M2? Who knows?
Yeah. Is it going to get another name? Yeah. So, but whatever that ends up being and what kind of speed and power they can unlock from that tiny processor, that's the stuff that I want to see happen. Like, what's going on with those?
One other thing that was interesting that was announced, this was our collection 9to5 Mac, that Apple could launch a audio book service later this year, which I think would be pretty phenomenal, honestly. And a lot of us who like to read, do audiobooks, that'd be a big time competitor to Audible, that's for sure. Because really, Audible hasn't had a really good competitor before. So,
well, they did, and it was Amazon, and then Amazon bought Audible, and so. Right. So here we are. So, with the services industries, it's mind-boggling of how much money now Apple is making on their services, on the services industry, on all their services. This would not be at all surprising at all that Apple comes up with another product like this, and also include in the Apple One bundle. I would be even more stoked that they would add something like this. But they already got News Plus and Fitness Plus. Why not add another service like a books bundle? They do the books now, but of course they're just you have to read them. And they do sell some. I do believe they sell some of the audiobooks through the bookstore. But if this is a false service, it's selling, and it's not. Yeah, it's not library style, and it's not primarily audiobooks. So yes, they are available, but that's not the point of the Apple bookstore. And so, I hope this is one I hope happens because I have an Audible subscription, and I would like to see how Apple does it.
Yeah.
I don't find their app all that compelling. It's kind of weird sometimes. It gets into a weird state where if my screen falls asleep, the book stops playing, and there's gyrations sometimes that go into troubleshooting. And so I would much rather have it come from Apple. So hopefully it would just have better integration, and then I could just pay for books with actual money instead of having to go buy credits somewhere else and then come back to the app and cash them in. So that would also be nice. But yeah, I'm curious where this is going to go. And this may be the thing that sends me to the Apple One bundle. I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh my gosh. I'm loving it.
But the last time I did the math, I didn't check out. Yeah. Charlotte has an article with the Apple bundle math that shows how you if these are the things that you are using, this is how much money you can save. And at that point, it didn't pencil out. But if Apple's going to give me books with it too, then I might have to rethink my life choices.
Put it over the edge. Is this
it's not like I don't subscribe to anything. Let me be clear. It's not like I don't subscribe to stuff. But paying for Apple Music a year at a time and paying for for Fitness Plus a year at a time, and then my 99 cents of additional iCloud storage, the math doesn't make sense. So it's just a question of when it would pencil out, and if they're going to add books as a service, then that might be the thing that makes it worth it at my house. So we'll have to see.
Well, you and I, Warren, both are on the Apple One Premier bundle. So I mean, if they added it to our existing bundle, I wouldn't complain. Is it something that interests you though, Warren? Are you one that likes the audiobooks?
No. It's I'll see the movie. I don't need to hear somebody read to me. So
okay.
So I'll file it with the Fitness Plus on the bundle for me.
Got it. All right. With the remaining time we have left here, I have one tip, and I also want to talk about an app here. The first tip here was the fact of iPhone photo data. Any of your photos that you take a picture of, it definitely could reveal your exact location, which can be kind of scary if it does bother you. Me, it isn't much of a big deal, but it is helpful when you tag your photos with their locations, because it can be very helpful, because it'll be a quick way to find where your photos were taken, which I do like, because a lot of times when we go on vacation, we like to take pictures. We want to know where they're at. But what you can do is, if you're a little more paranoid and you don't like to have this information there, you can strip out the GPS data, and it does have its benefits, but it can be very tedious if you want to go through and do this. What you do is you start out by opening the photo or the photos you want to share. You click the share button, and then you go into the options at the top of the sharing screen, and you could put on the turn off location toggle to remove the GPS data on the select photos. And then you tap done and you save your changes. And then once you've shared your photos, you can share them safely, and then it won't actually have the actual location to where you were. Because a lot of time maybe it's a photo that's taken at your home or some place that you want to keep secure. Now there is a way to turn it off actually permanently. I don't know if you necessarily would want to do that, but you do have that option if you so choose. If you go into the settings app, you go under privacy and then location services, select the camera to access the camera settings, and then select never under allow for location access. And that's a little extreme. I don't know if I would want to ever turn that off. I don't know. You guys would, but I want
actually leaving their house.
Yeah, well, that too, but there is that option if you want to be able to change that. So check that out if you feel the need to turn off your data. But I got nothing to hide. I think most of us don't.
My life is not that interesting.
I like having the one-off option of it, though. Like if you share a photo with somebody, maybe you don't want to have the exact location of that for whatever reason. Right. You want to make sure that doesn't show. I like that you get the granularity out of it. Like if you send it in messages, it shows like also sharing location information, and it just tells you. And I just always prefer to know rather than have it sort of be mysterious what's happening to my information. So I like that it's upfront about it. I do appreciate that piece of it.
Me too. And then I have one app I wanted to talk about. I found this today. Actually, I haven't had a chance to play with it much, but it was actually highlighted in 9 to 5 Mac here. Audio Trimmer. It lets users easily trim any audio files on the iPhone or the iPad. iOS offers native tools, for editing images and videos, but there's nothing when it comes to audio editing. And with this in mind, a developer had created an app called Audio Trimmer that comes to solve just that, as it lets users trim any audio files on an iPhone or an iPad. As the name suggests, Audio Trimmer is focusing on just trimming audio files. Now, this may sound pretty basic. Apple's mobile operating system doesn't offer any feature like this, so to have an app that actually is going to allow you to be able to do it is I think, pretty nifty. At least two of us being podcasters, obviously we have our tools that we use for editing audio, so this probably isn't going to be much for us, but there might be a time you want to do editing with this. And the great thing about this is it's free. It's free on the App Store, and you could check it out. And I think this is pretty cool. Just trimming and cutting audio files. Very simple. It's getting a lot of good reviews. He keeps it private. I'm
curious about the use case for it. Like what, aside from podcasting, what sort of audio files people are using it for, and what people are trimming with it. So if this is just leveling up somebody's mobile broadcast game, then rock and roll. I'm very curious, and I would like to hear more. Yeah. But I would also like to find out what other people are doing with it, just because like I know you can shoot video on your camera on your phone, and Apple gives you basic stuff so that you can make edits to that, and then there's like other apps that you can use if you want to edit the video. But Apple gives you something very basic to do that, and you shoot it on your phone, you cut it together on your phone, and you send it out from your phone to wherever it is it's going to go, and there you go. But with audio, that just seems like a very different proposition to me, and maybe it's just because I come at it from I literally record audio and send it out the door every single every single weekday.
You and I did both, so I
find it sort of confusing. Well, I find it confusing what else you would use it for.
Voice memos, maybe. I mean, maybe like
that was that was the only thing I could think of when I read about it was, well, maybe it's a voice memo thing, but then I wasn't sure. And so, yeah, I would like to find out how people are using it and dig a little bit deeper into like what the use case looks like for it. Cause if it's like, I'm all for a good tool that makes your phone more useful to you in some particular way. And so, I don't have all the camera apps installed, but for people who are super into photography, there are a lot of options available for you to make use of the hardware that you have. And this is just another one of those sorts of things. So, I definitely want to find out more.
I do too. And again, it's
for
free.
For the New Year's, all my audio wants to trim.
Okay. But I'm pumped.
Just ignore him, David. We'll get through it together.
Yes. All right. So on that note,
Breathe.
let's go ahead and wrap things up, okay? That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. As I mentioned earlier, we now have a new way to support the show. If you want to buy me a coffee or buy us a coffee, please go to buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/intouchwithios. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming on our YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/DaveG65. We also can watch and listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics that we discuss are flipped onto the list, and those are also the links in our show notes. You can also subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Kelly Guimont, thank you as always. It was always a thrill having you here. Please tell everybody where they can find you.
We haven't done this on Mac Voices in a couple of weeks, so I don't have it fresh in my mind. I'm like, I have to put it all back together in my brain and figure out how to get it all into a sentence. Okay, here we go. You can find me 5 days a week over at the Mac Observer, where I am the host of the Daily Observations podcast at macobserver.com. You can also find me on Twitter as Verso. You can find me hosting the over at The Incomparable. You can find me occasionally as a panelist and also hosting the podcast I Want My MCU TV, which is over there. And when it comes back, because HBO announced that there is finally going to be more Westworld in 2022, you can hear the show I do with Don Melton called Greetings from the Uncanny Valley over there as well. You can find me at aftershowpodcast.com, where I do the After Show podcast with Mike Rose, which is basically the two of us cracking each other up in very nerdy fashion for like an hour, like whenever we can get it scheduled. That's our official podcast schedule, is whenever we can get enough of our poop in a group to both be in the same place at the same time, we'll talk about it. And then the rest of the time, you can find me on Twitter as Verso.
Thank you so much. And Warren, where can everybody find you?
Now that I'm popping my head out of the sand, back on Facebook a little bit. Active Future Facebook group. It's, doing what it does. Nothing controversial, nothing but really people talking about technology. And then other than that, I do the show. Sometimes we do the show on Tuesdays, and it's good to be back.
Great to have you back, and great for everybody to be back for 2022. We have lots more shows coming this year. Can't wait. We'll have a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody listening, and we'll talk again soon.